This week on Zabroad, tour guide Jacolene from Durbanville lets us explore the iconic windmills of the Kinderdijk with her, and we go to Zaanseschans, an 18th century village turned into a live museum where you can find all things quintessentially Dutch.
Summertime. Okay, so we are at the Kinderdijk, 19 windmills altogether, and it's the biggest collection of windmills in the world. Wow. Yeah, and they all have families still living in them, so people tend to forget that there's still millers and families living in them. 2 museum mills. And the Kinderdijk area is also 7 to 8 meters below sea level. So we're actually living in a kind of a bucket here. And then the Kinderdijk protects this area from, from flooding. Actually, that's the wall that protects us. So Kinderdijk actually means child's levy. And the story comes from St. Elizabeth flood in 1421. They had a little baby, got washed out of its house in its baby basket. And then the family's cat jumped on the basket, keeping the 2 of them in balance. And they washed out here, and that's why they call it the Kinderdijk. Yeah, originally I'm from Durbanville. When I finished my studies in South Africa, I moved to Italy. I lived in Milan for a while. I met my Dutch husband. And we stayed here for 10 years. And then after that, we moved to South Africa. Again for nearly 10 years, nearly 10 years. And he found a new business opportunity here, so we moved back to Holland. I am a tourist guide. Yeah, I started my own company, Friends of Holland. And we have a lot of tourists. I take them through this beautiful area with the bicycle or walking. Of course, the bicycle tours are the best. That's lovely. Or on a canal boat here. And we also have a tour that takes people to the cheese farm. Yeah, I have 2 boys. Luca is 14 years old and Mikael is 17 years old. And we moved back here about 3 years ago, connecting with the Dutch people. They are I wouldn't say, although a lot of people think Dutch are unfriendly, but I think it's just their way of being direct. They don't like to beat around the bush. And that's on the one side very nice because you know directly what is what with the Dutch person. And but on the other hand, it's very difficult to really connect with them because it's not a lot of them, and this is a generalization, they are not very spontaneous. So you can feel like an outsider for quite a long time. And I lived in a smaller town, and there they were tough, the smaller town people. So I think now that I know it and I'm back in Holland again, it's easier to adjust because I know what to expect. The culture shock isn't that big. And that's the thing I miss the most. Spontaneous people, just popping by, saying hello, and
without an appointment.
There's a lot of rules in Holland, and it's logical. 17 million people living in a small country like this, so they have to have rules on the one side. But I tend to make friends that's more open for that as well. Yeah, I have 3 sisters back home, my mother and my father. And my husband has 1 sister and 2 brothers. So they're mainly more a masculine family, you know, business-like and more serious. And I miss the craziness of my sisters. Yeah, I've sent my 2 sons back now. They've been there for a whole month, 5 weeks. They visited the family now. Yeah, and I hope to go there soon. Who knows? But I'm first going to visit Spain.
Yes. Do you want to give them a little shout out, a little hi to the family?
Ja, hallo sissy, sisters. Kom kijken een beetje. Ja, stuur een choppie. Where's my choppie? Well, if they go to Rotterdam, I would definitely advise them to go to Katendrecht. That is a little peninsula in the city, a very small one. but there's hardly any traffic for it, and it's a bit alternative. There's a little cafe called the Oude Hoer, and they have the food factory over there. They have little festivals, little markets over, and they also have, they call it also the Kaap. So they have the festival called the Nacht van de Kaap, the Night of the Cape. They have a brewery, the Cape Brewery, and they make the Kaapse Japi. That's a beer they make over there. So it makes you kind of feel like you're a little bit in a small waterfront type of area. And then of course the beautiful Erasmus bridge they have there in that area. And where we are now, this isn't Rotterdam, of course, this is the Kinderdijk, but it's half an hour outside the city. So it's a nice drive. It's typical Dutch, and it's not like the Zaanseschans is a museum, but this is the real authentic windmills. Nobody placed them here to attract tourists or anything. It's just it's homes for people. Yeah. We have the windmill here at the back of me. This is actually the oldest type of windmill, and as you can see, it looks very different from the other type of windmills. It is what we call a wipmolen. Descriptive name for it is maybe a shaky mill. That's because if the wing starts turning very, very hard, the whole upper house starts shaking. Okay, so here we have the outside kitchen. All these windmills had kitchens on the outside. They were very afraid of fire, actually, because, well, the Dutch people, their lives depended on these windmills. These windmills actually pumped water away from the towns and the cities and the polders. So the excess water that's lower on the one side, we pump to a higher area at the back of me then, and they would actually only pump water, because a lot of people ask me where they can buy flour in the Kinderdijk, and they just don't buy flour in the Kinderdijk, they don't produce it. So these windmills, they only pump water.
On that scale, you see there we have different levels in water levels into this area. Now it's you can see about 1 to 10 about, that's the highest. But in former years it was higher. You can see it on the right side.
Yeah.
You see a grey one, a blue one, a yellow one, and a red one. And with the biggest flood, it was the red one. That was the biggest flood ever here in this area.
Okay.
So then there was more than 3 meters water here above your head.
Wow.
So the land here is cut in all pieces, and every piece has got its own level. Well, here it's 2 meters 10. When you go further to the backland, it's 2 meters 40, 270.
You mean 240 below sea level?
Exactly. Yeah,
okay.
below sea level.
Yeah. Okay, so here we're inside the little windmill, inside the shaky mill. And people used to live in here. Oh, these mills were built, like Bjorn said, 1400s already. And back then they had lots of children, they had 10 to 15 children, a miller. So yeah, they didn't have TV or computers to keep them busy, so obviously they had to do something. But they also lived in the other mills that had levels as well. So the older you get, the higher up you get to go as a kid. So little kids would sleep actually in the same bed with the parents. They would also have a drawer under the bed, and they would put babies in the drawer, the smallest ones. So they could stay in there, and then obviously mother must just remember to take them out the next day if she wants all 10 of them. And they still have a saying in Holland, the drawer kid. If you're a drawer kid, you're the little one, I think the neglected one. You know, the one that got the hand-me-downs and not a lot of attention from mommy and daddy. And that would be the drawer kid.
So this is Zaanseschans, and it is a Dutch artisan village where you can see how they made all things Dutch in the traditional, original way. So there's a bakery, there's a cheese shop, there's woodworks, there's all sorts of things that you would think truly Dutch. And they still make it here in the original way, in the traditional way. So you can visit the shops, you can see a bit about the history of, for example, the stroopwafel, the typical Dutch wafer, and you can see how they make it, and you can buy some, and the entire place is a village, and you can walk around and see how people lived hundreds of years ago. It's quite amazing. It's a lovely way to spend a day here.
Zaanseschans was the brainchild of Dutch architect Jaap Schippers, who wanted visitors to live Dutch heritage by experiencing a working community as you would have experienced it if you visited the Zaan district 3 centuries ago. Many of the wooden buildings and farmsteads were physically transported by road or canal from elsewhere in the Netherlands and settled here in the Zaan. At this living museum, you can smell, taste, hear and see Dutch culture like nowhere else.
So here you can see all the baking implements. This is a bakery museum. You can see all the implements they used to make cakes and breads in the old way. So we're inside the windmill now. This is a little house and it's inside the windmill, so you can see the workings of the windmill. And you can also see this is like a spice trade shop. So this is where the spices that came from the east, through Cape Town obviously, ended up. And this is where you would come and buy your spices.
Next time on Zabroad we visit Rotterdam, home of the second largest port in the world. Cape Town dancer Curvin Fortuyn and wine importer Son show us the ropes and we explore the harbour as nobody has ever experienced it. Remember to subscribe to our channel or drop a line in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.